In 1936, Alfred Hitchcock directed a film called Sabotage. You're going to watch the opening part of the film. Now, the opening part of the film begins with a light bulb. So as I play it, I want you to think about the filament. A lot of these older light bulbs lasted a lot longer than what our current light bulbs do. And incidentally, that's because of what's called planned obsolescence. In other words, why would you design a light bulb that could last 100 years? Wouldn't it be much better to design a light bulb that lasts 2 years or 3? Now, immediately after the light bulb, you get the idea that the city of London is highly dependent upon electricity. Again, the year is 1936, and electricity is starting to go out into the various towns and areas. Back to the light bulb. Now they're showing the voltmeter, and it is going to flicker between 80 volts and 40 volts. So if you take the 8 and the 4, that gives you 12. Reverse the 2 and the 1, and that gives you 21. And 21 is triple Zion, or 3 sevens. So a lot of things are number coded, and they're showing you how the number system works. But of course, most people will completely miss what I just said because they don't understand the hoax lie system. Okay, now, by going to this shot, you get the idea of a factory or of a generating station. And the hoax is this, that electricity is generated on the ground by huge generators. That's the hoax. And this movie is going to certainly convince the audience that electricity is derived from generating stations, such as this one. Now notice there's 2 smokestacks, and that would be your 2 pillars in the Masonic system. Duality, positive, negative, yin and yang, however you want to see it. All mystery religions are based on duality. Good needs evil and evil needs good. That's kind of the idea. Alright? So, the truth of the matter is this. Electricity is not generated. Electricity is harvested. It comes out of the atmosphere. Now, back when towns and villages were getting electricity, everyone assumes that the electricity is coming from a generating station or power plant. Now, the interesting thing is, if I ask anyone in this nation to please take me to the power plant where their electricity comes from, at most they could take me to the offices of the electricity company. They might be able to take me to where the transformers are or the batteries are, but they will not be able to take me to a power generating station and show me turbines. Unless, of course, they are archaic and outdated and actually museum pieces. But that's a challenge to you if you don't believe what I'm telling you. Find out where your generating station is and just drive by it. The so-called power plant. You won't find it. It doesn't exist. Now, because they've done such a great job at hoaxing, a simple question like I just asked is not even being asked by the population. And most people believe and think that the electricity comes from generating stations, just like this. So again, in 1936, the hoax of electricity being generated by turbines in a plant or like a factory-like area is being promoted. Okay, there's your turbines, supposedly running around the clock, creating the electricity, your motors. And the motors are being run by what? By steam or by gasoline or diesel fuel or something. But again, it's an illusion. There's no need for turbines. There's no need for generators. The electricity is in the atmosphere.
Sang.
You know, I have a little hard time hearing the rest of the dialogue, but I believe he says sand. So the big act of terrorism, or the big act of sabotage, was dumping some sand in the equipment that's used to generate electricity.
Sabotage. Wrecking. Deliberate. What's at the back of it?
Who did it?
Now notice how they did those short little snippety statements, and then who did it, and then they have Mr. Verloc walking past the factory in the background. And again, the two smokestacks symbolizing the Masonic order of their two pillars in their hoax lie system that they love. And then, of course, wearing the derby hat could be symbolic of Saturn. Okay, now 4, the number 4 is usually symbolic for door, that once the hoax has been committed, then you go right into it and you're a part of it. So the hoax that you just saw was what I explained, that electricity is generated in factory-like areas or in generating plants, which is false. It comes out of the air, and there's no need for turbines. Okay, now later in the movie, the man above Mr. Verloc was going to show a clipping from the newspaper that basically said the blackout just caused people to have fun. Everybody had a real blast, lighting matches and everything. Incidentally, since I freeze this frame, look at the one on the left there. Missing a tooth. By the way, that's symbolic too in the Bible. The knocking out of teeth and the missing of teeth. I did a video on that one time, and I forget exactly what the content was, but it was noticing the missing tooth in one of the figures, and then using that as symbolism to make someone realize that the individual that they were portraying was false, because they were just part of the demonic system that loves to lie to the world. Okay, now that's the movie theater that Mrs. Verloc and Mr. Verloc own and operate. Bijou. Bijou. And it has some French derivative, and it can mean a jewel, a precious jewel, or it can mean something that is small and elegant. It can mean a reference to like a possession of somebody that's small and elegant, or it can literally mean a jewel, a precious stone. And notice how, once again, the two pillars to enter this movie theater, and they may be telling you something here, that the usage of film is precious to them, because through film they create the reality that people will accept as true. And in the movie Sabotage, you will see a lot of the characters freely passing through the movie theater and catching little glimpses of things that are going on in the movie theater, and almost as if the movie theater is comparable to Plato's cave, whereby they are chained and they are watching shadows on a wall.
I know how the law stands. You broke a contract, therefore you broke the law.
But
it's everywhere. Look at the street.
I paid my money to look.
Okay, I have a little trouble with the sound in this. Some of the dialogues I can pick up real well, some of it's kind of muffled. But basically the people now are asking for their money back. Now notice once again, the two pillars are the two candles. And also Mrs. Verloc is usually shot or filmed with light on her face. She glows because she's the heroine. She's the good person in the movie. She's the one that ultimately you will vote for and root for because her husband is the villain. Now they want their money back, and I want you to listen to carefully what she says.
Pictures, yeah, stay long and twilight.
If I want to sit in the dark, I can do it at home.
Yes, free of charge.
Yes.
I think it's a blinking shame robbing the poor people like that.
Okay, now that comment, I think it's a blinking shame robbing the poor people like that. That comment is most likely tied into the idea of electricity coming out of the sky and then basically charging people high rates of money to receive the electricity, when basically the electricity is completely free. I think that's what that comment is about. Not about the movie theater. Not. Because later on he's going to advocate that they not get their money back. So I think it's the controller's way of saying that when you get electricity in your home, it's like robbing the poor, because the electricity is free.
We've got to have our money back.
It's an act of providence, like an earthquake or a thunderbolt.
Or a theft.
Okay, now notice what she said. It's an act of providence. like an earthquake or a thunderbolt. Now, a lot of the so-called acts of providence that people believe in are just hoaxes. For example, avalanches are complete and total hoaxes. And on one of my channels, I think I did almost maybe up to 10 videos on avalanches showing they're just totally fake. There's no basis to it whatsoever that avalanches actually exist. So things that they say are acts of nature either A, are faked, or B, are actually created by them. And a lot of the, in fact maybe all of them, the hurricanes are actually generated by the controllers for the destruction of property, because they do have the know-how and the equipment to manipulate the weather. Now, she mentioned earthquakes. Now, based on all the reports that they give about earthquakes, their reports are fakes. Are earthquakes real? Well, I'm still struggling a little bit with that one, but I'm going to say that anytime you hear there's an earthquake somewhere and they show you footage, it's fake. So I'm struggling with that one right now, and I have an idea on that, in that I think that maybe only earthquakes occur when God makes them occur, and they're only related to the biblical events, and there may not be any earthquakes until just the prior coming of Jesus Christ. And hence the hoaxers know that, so they're constantly faking earthquakes. Now I have to do a little more research on that, but she is trying to connect this idea of the power outage with an act of God.
Be.
Will you kindly not interfere?
We got to have our money back.
So sorry I'm late, Mrs. Verloc, but I had a hell of a time trying to eat my egg on toast in the dark. Half of it's in my ear now.
They want their money back, and we can't afford it. I do wish Mr. Verloc would come.
You know, again, that's Mrs. Verloc that said that, and Mr. Verloc was her husband, the one that actually did the sabotage. And here he comes. She says, I wish Mr. Verloc would come. There he is. The villain. The villain. Notice the music. Okay, now this is almost a little like Pilate, in a scene where Pilate wants to be innocent, and so he will dramatize his innocent nature, supposedly, by the washing of his hands. Now that's an interesting little thing there. He's the one that caused the power to go out, and yet he hits the light switch to try to get light. Almost like as if he's completely oblivious to what he did, like he's a robot. He's under mind control or something. And usually the ones in the system are under powers. They are under demonic powers. And so in a sense, many of the people that do the hoax lie system bidding and perform the evil deeds, in a sense, they are like robots because they are under demonic spells and demonic powers, demonic entities actually functioning through their bodies. Okay, now what's interesting here too is that when he lies down like this, you'll see a little bit of light coming like on his chin and his eyes. And remember, the Bible tells us that men loved darkness, that the light came into the world, but men loved darkness. Now, as you know, I call the newspaper, the newspaper, noose, like a noose around your neck. So, here it is, there's the newspaper pretty much going around his neck, so he can stop that light from coming on him. Because, see, these evildoers, they hate the light. And they actually do hate Christians, true Christians. Because the light comes and they can't stand the light. He can't stand the light because he is evil. And that is the true nature of the Canaanites who are ruling this world. They hate the light. And just hold on here in a minute. We'll see a little more.
Rotten place every hour, can't even see the picture.
They're getting nasty.
Nasty? Leave them to me. Hey, you. What's all this about?
Lend me a flashlight, Jake.
Is it our fault if the light fails? Supposing you were a policeman and got hit over the nut. Do you think the government has asked for their money back?
I paid for my seat.
Yes, and what about the one you put your feet on?
Now notice, she has the brilliant light. And if you read the Gospel of John, the first chapter, about that the darkness could not extinguish the light. In other words, the true Word of God and the truth about God, the truth about this world, can't be stopped. Okay, that's a marvelous scene. Now that's pretty much how a true Christian looks in the eyes of the Canaanites. They're blinded by the light. And if you recall in the book of Acts, when Saul of Tarsus was on the road to Damascus, he was thrown from his horse, blinded by the light, blinded. And that is because God's nature is light. And the light will expose the darkness. So she is exposing the darkness right now. And he's very uncomfortable.
When did you get home?
I haven't been out.
You weren't in 20 minutes ago. I came and called up the stairs.
I was asleep. Why are you shining the torch on me? Can't you switch on the light or something?
We can't. It's failed.
What? The fuse gone down?
No, it's everywhere, in the streets and the trams. And the audience downstairs wants their money back. They're making a terrible row about it.
Well, I'll give it back.
We can't possibly afford it.
Oh, yes, we can.
You must be crazy. It'll clear us right out. You're always saying we don't cover expenses.
That...
See, he definitely has a guilty conscience. And that is true. The Canaanites do have a guilty conscience. but they will fight it their entire lives. And they will go to their grave with a guilty conscience. And, in all honesty, they will not stand justified in the eyes of Almighty God, because they've spurned and they've turned away from the truth of Jesus Christ. So we do see a little bit of humanity in this man, this saboteur, or this Canaanite, or we'll use the modern term, this terrorist.
All right. Doesn't pay to antagonize the public. I've got some money coming in. Go on.
Well, it's for you to say. If we're going to be generous, let's do it properly. Come on downstairs and make a speech about it.
No, no. They're used to you. You do it.
All right. I still think you're crazy.
It's an act of God, I tell you.
And what do you call an act of God?
Okay, an act of God. We're back to that discussion. Now, I want you to listen carefully to what he says, because he's going to define an act. Now, keep in mind, the United States Congress passes acts. Why do they pass acts? Because it's theater, and it's a play. It's for show. It doesn't apply to sovereigns. Now, unfortunately, your corpse with the oration, that is your name in capital letters, lives under the acts. So, the U.S. Congress only passes phony legislation. Phony. Basically, nothing of significance has come into existence after 1933, because on the third of 33, everything fell. Everything. Anything and everything of a valid government. Okay, that was when U.S. government went bankrupt and emergency powers were set up, and basically the military has ruled since 1933. Well, that's why we have passage of acts. Now keep in mind that this film comes out of Great Britain, and the primary target is England, not United States. So England's under the same nonsense, and he's going to tell them about acts. Listen to the definition.
I call your face one, and you won't get your money back on that. Now, if a plane were to come along and drop a bomb on you, that would be an unfriendly act within the meaning of the act. But if the juice dries up of its own accord, that's an act of providence, as laid down in the Act of William IV, where an act is defined as any activity actuated by actual action.
No wonder the blinking light.
So anyhow, I'm not going to repeat that for you, but basically it's a lot of mumbo jumbo of words, all starting with the letter A, and just sort of telling you that the world is run by acts, which are just things that are brought into existence on the stage.
It's a moot point.
I'll moot point 'em, make 'em pay.
That's right, Mom.
Yes.
We want our money back.
And how are you going to get it? Apply sanctions? Are you familiar with the details of the covenant? If you'd studied Article 257, paragraph 24, line 6, sanction B, it says definitely no.
And now he's really from the New Scotland Yard, and he was sent there to keep an eye on Mr. Verloc. So what we're seeing now is the ones who are in the so-called legal system are always citing different codes and different statutes and different acts, okay, to somehow enslave people, to somehow get money out of people. Okay, while he's going to be somewhat of a hero in the film, keep in mind he's part of the hoax lie system too. And he's sort of letting his true nature show here. He's got all the mumbo jumbo. To do what? Control people. And by the way, that's all that pretty much they do, is control people.
Yes, you didn't know that, did you? You're all ignorant.
Now see, there's a statement that's made to everyone. And there's a statement that's made to people who don't understand anything of what I'm speaking about. Okay? Now, let me make a confession to you. I was ignorant. I was completely dumb. I had absolutely no idea the way the world was truly run. Why? Because I believed all the propaganda. I believed all the lies. I believed my indoctrination. And I wasn't going to come out of it until just several years ago. And the one I'd like to give credit to on that is Dave Johnson. Without his work, I would not have one video out. But now I have a large number floating out there on several channels. But I was ignorant. And he's basically telling people they're ignorant. Now, he knows a lot because he's in Scotland Yard, New Scotland Yard. And anybody that's in the police work and stuff know a little bit. But as the term goes, they're useful idiots. Okay? They know a lot of things are fake. In fact, they're behind faking them and stuff. So those in the legal system, those who work in the law force, police, sheriffs, are ones who know a little something, but they don't know it all. Okay? So he's representative of that aspect of things because he's with New Scotland Yard.
Now, if you take my advice, you go off home because there's nothing doing here. Now, go on, get off.
What do you think you're doing?
Just lending a hand.
I thought I told you not to interfere.
I've been delivering a little counterattack. Look, they're on the run.
Well, then come right back.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get your money back.
Don't give in now. I'll stand by you.
I prefer you to go and stand by your Apple store. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking to Mr. Verloc, and since you're all regular patrons and good friends, he's going to let you have your money back.
There'll be no money back, I tell you. Go on, get off.
Please, don't pay any attention to him.
I tell you, you're crazy. I had it all fixed.
You mind your own business.
Of all the obstinate people...
If you don't go away, I'll call the police. Rene, start refunding the patrons their money.
Over here, Pat. Over here, Pat.
Hey, none of that. You haven't been in before, have we?
Thank you for your trouble. I'm sure you meant well.
Not at all. I like trouble.
She doesn't know yet that he's with New Scotland Yard. And so I think I'm going to stop it right here. Again, you're looking at Mr. Verloc, the villain, and you're looking at the light bulb. Oh, you know, I might make a comment on that. That basically speaking, we're looking at two forms of light here. We're looking at the artificial light of this world, the light bulb, and that would be the light of Lucifer. Okay? Now, in a sense, the real light, the light of the gospel and so forth, is in Mrs. Verloc. Okay? And so, Mr. Verloc is for the light of this world, the evil light, the light of Lucifer, the false light. And Mrs. Verloc has the true light, the light of Christ. And it's kind of a battle between the two different lights in this world. Now, I didn't really understand that until I watched the videos of Dave Johnson, Dave J. Dave J would refer to it many, many times about the false light of this world. And remember how the Bible says that the devil disguises himself what? As an angel of light. And so things that really, really look like they're correct and right look that way because they're empowered by a false light. And maybe that light bulb represents that, because remember, that's artificial. It's artificial. It's not actual, such as sunlight or the light of the stars, the moon. It's artificial. And he's part of the artificial light system of this world. Now, who is the true light? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the light of this world. The light of the world is Jesus. Oh, come to the light is shining for thee. Once I was lost, but now I can see. The light of the world is Jesus. Well, I'm not the best singer, but I thought I'd give it a try. End of video.